So you watched Noelle's basic guides, and now you want to know more about her for like mid to late game. So that's what we're going to do in this video, is that we are going to talk about Noelle in a mid to late game guide. So let's do a quick recap of the Noelle in this video. She is level 70, max HP 15,000, attack 958, defense 1430, crit split 31.4 over 145.6 with 121 ER and a Geo Goblet. For weapons, she does have an R1 level 60 White Blind. She is running a 4-piece Marshmallow Hunter. She is C6, talents 144. So now let's go look at some teams for her. So this is the same team that we used in the basics guide. I want to talk more about it. This team would be considered a mono Geo team, right? We have Chiori, Noelle, Goru, and then Furina. Furina being the one non-Geo character, but the other three are Geo. We are running triple Geo for how Goru works. The flex slot is going to be Chiori. You could use Ningguang, you could use Albedo, you could use a couple different characters that are going to give you some off-field damage or utility, Ningguang being like the screen that you can walk through to give Noelle more Geo damage. But this is very, very much a team to where we're going to have, in this case, Chiori, Noelle, and Furina all doing damage, Goru and Furina buffing, Noelle, Chiori, and Furina herself. So the reason that this team works really, really well is because of how Furina works with Noelle, right? Furina's vampires are going to suck health from everybody, and Noelle with her burst and her skill is going to heal the whole team, giving a ton of fanfare points over to Furina to then buff your entire party, meaning Chiori's going to do more damage even off field, Noelle's going to do more damage, Furina's going to do more damage, and bringing Goru in, Goru's also just going to do more damage every now and then, the little bit of time that he has on the field. We can also use Goru to kind of help battery Noelle. Goru is going to be buffing Noelle as well as buffing Chiori, so we are getting a very, very good thing where all four characters are working together, buffing each other, making each other stronger, to where our 3 damage dealers are doing a good amount of damage. Now this also allows for us to invest more into Noelle's crit damage because we have Marshmallow Hunter set on Noelle, which is the best set to use on her with Furina. If we're not using Furina, we're actually going to talk about a different set to use. But with Furina, Marshmallow Hunter is very, very good to use on Noelle. And in this team, we have all 3 of our characters, Noelle, Chiori, and Furina, doing a fair good amount of damage, Noelle being our on-field damage dealer, Chiori being off-field, Furina, of course, being off-field, Goru buffing. And with C6 Goru, which I do not have C6, with C6 Goru, you can actually get an extra little bit of healing to stack even more fanfare points on Furina. With C6, also, Chiori and Noelle are going to be doing a lot more damage because of how C6 Goru works. So this entire team is really, really good at doing a ton of Geo damage. So now let's look at the actual artifacts as well, the set and the individual stats. So we are doing 4-piece Marshmallow Hunter set, which whenever your HP rises or drops, it is going to increase your crit rate up to 36%. Working with Furina and Noelle, we are able to get this stack, get this crit rate up for Noelle very, very easily. So her flower, right? We have energy recharge, crit rate, crit damage, attack percent. If that attack percent had been defense percent, perfect substat artifacts, right? Having attack percent isn't necessarily bad, but having defense would be better. For her plume, crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, flat defense. If that attack percent had been again defense percent, flat defense had been ER, another perfect substat artifact. We don't necessarily want EM. On the sands, defense sands, attack percent, crit rate, crit damage. If that flat attack again had been ER, this would be every single stat that you want on Noelle. For the goblet, Geo Goblet, of course, this one is a very, very bad goblet. The only good thing that we have on here is crit rate, right? We want, like we said, crit rate, defense percent, crit damage, and then attack percent on this one, or ER. Our circlet, 4-star, I have not been able to get a 5-star crit damage on Marshmallow Hunter. ER, attack percent, there's no crit rate on this. We do have the defense percent, but there's no crit rate on this. So you can see that this Noelle has a lot of room for improvement, not only in leveling, but on the artifacts themselves, a lot of room for improvement. Now, I did want to talk about another artifact set being Husk, right? 4-piece Husk, which I do have 4-piece Husk on my Goru. So we're going to look at what 4-piece Husk does, and then we're going to look at Chiori's artifacts, because these artifacts could also work for Noelle if I was not using her with Furina. Husk's 4-piece set. The 2-piece set's going to get up your defense, which is going to be great for defense scaling characters like Chiori or Noelle. But the 4-piece basically means that anytime that you're on the field dealing geo damage, you get a stacking mechanism up to 4 stacks that is going to increase your defense and increase your geo damage bonus. Off the field, they accumulate slower, but you can still get the stacks off the field. If you go 6 seconds without getting a stack, meaning if we had Noelle on the field doing non-geo damage, we would start to lose stacks. So you just have to always kind of have geo damage or have them off the field, which with this team is not difficult to do, or a team similar to this is not going to be difficult to do if we wanted to do this on Noelle. Now we are going to look at the substats. Defense percent, great. Crit rate, crit damage, great. That attack could have been attack percent, could have been ER. That also would have been really good. Like I said, we don't want EM in this because we don't necessarily care how strong the shields are from the crystallize reaction. Now for the plume, we have HP percent, not good. EM, not that great. Crit rate, crit damage. The split on this with the crit rate and crit damage is good. If I was to use Husk, I do have this one, as well as this one, which does have better stats. Crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, defense. It has all of these stats. And then some attack percent as well. For Sands, this is probably one of my best crit rate split Sands that I have. Defense, of course, crit rate, crit damage, attack percent. If that flat attack had been ER, it would have been perfect, even for Chiori or Noelle, right? This is a phenomenal Sans. It's going to be very difficult for me to beat this Sans one day. Geo Goblet, another Geo Goblet that is not great. Has some crit rate, has some attack percent, not super good. Obviously, I would need to replace that. Crit damage circlet with some crit rate and attack percent. This one, again, is not super great, but if we were to run a Husk, then we would have a good set of artifacts to kind of swap her over to Husk if I was not using them on Chiori. So now let's talk about a team if we didn't have Furina. And what we're going to do is that we're basically going to run the exact same team that we were in before, but with Bennett instead of Furina. Bennett is going to give an attack buff, a pure attack buff, so it's not going to be super, super good because Noelle and Chiori scale off of defense. Better than attack for Chiori, but having that attack buff and that healing is still going to be very, very good for all of the characters involved. So it's going to be a very similar kind of rotation. We don't necessarily have to worry about our HP going as down. Now, obviously, Furina's off-field Hydra application is going to be better than Benny's Pyro application in this, just because Furina's follows you around, so it's a little bit easier to get some of the crystallized shields, but it's not going to be super hard to use Benny. You could easily swap in Benny instead of having Furina. You're not going to get as much out of it as you would with Furina because of the fanfare. However, Benny can work fairly well in this instance if you don't have Furina. You just need to make sure that you have a really good built Bennett. Now, the other option for a team would just be to kind of forego powering up Noelle and or Chiori, or Albedo or Ningi or whoever else you're going to have in that slot, and doing much more of a just increased team damage while possibly, and instead focus on like decreasing Noelle and Chiori's damage, but increasing team damage with somebody like Fischl, right? We don't necessarily have a healer not having C6 Goru, or I think it'd be C5 Goru, but we don't necessarily have a healer. However, if we have somebody like Fischl with Oz giving us a ton of opportunities to make crystallized shields with as much geo as we have, we shouldn't be in healing, shouldn't be in as much of a need of the healing, right? We can always pick up crystals, we can always have shields, we can always dodge. There's different things like that that we can do instead of having to rely on healing. We just need to make sure that we're doing stuff in a way to where we always have Oz on the field. We're always picking up these crystallized reaction crystals so that way we always have a shield. Noelle's shield will also help. Noelle's burst and shield will also kind of heal the whole team. It's just not as reliable as like, I don't want to see it reliable. It's not as easy to deal with as having like Benny's burst just ready to drop and kind of heal somebody up, right? Yes, Noelle heals the whole team. And honestly, I'm kind of looking at it based on my own Noelle that is not fully leveled and not fully decked out and everything. So like her healing is not great, but it would definitely kind of get the job done going through, right? In that other team, we had 2 healers. In this one, we only have 1. Well, technically 3 with Guru and Constellations. But in that Furina one, everybody is going to be super low HP, or their HP is going to be fluctuating a ton anyway. So you still kind of have the same issue as you did with Furina in this team. So it might not be as big of a deal as I'm thinking it could potentially be. Now, on both of these teams, when we take out Furina, we would not be using Marshmallow Hunter. We would have to use something like Husk. So that way, because we cannot reliably get our HP to fluctuate, go down and go up and go down and go up, to constantly keep the 4-piece Marshmallow Hunter set's effect active. If we do not have Furina, it is much, much more difficult to do that, and just going for 4-piece Husk would be better than trying to make that 4-piece set active. So that is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, you be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or someone else will be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.